Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are stripping everything down. We're taking one of the most complex, messy, and historically debated concepts in the human experience, love, and we're trying to run it through a processor.
Right.
The question isn't just, what is love? Because, poets have failed at that for centuries. The real question is, can a machine, built of cold wires and binary code, actually understand it?
It's the ultimate Turing test, isn't it? I mean, we have AI that can write sonnets, generate art, beat grandmasters at chess.
Totally.
But if you ask a sophisticated model to feel the affection behind the chess move, that's where the hardware usually overheats.
Right. And to explore this, we aren't looking at some technical white paper on neural networks today. We're actually looking at a narrative case study.
Okay.
It's a story called The Robot Who Couldn't Feel Love, from the collection, The Logic of the Heart. And I know what you're thinking. A story about a robot, it sounds a bit sci-fi, maybe even a little simplistic.
But that's the trick, right? Sometimes you have to simplify the variable to understand the equation. This story just removes all the biological baggage hormones, history, pheromones.
All of it.
And it leaves us with a blank slate trying to solve for love. It's actually a brilliant way to analyze emotional intelligence.
So let's introduce our test subject. His name is ZAP3000.
A classic functional designation.
The AP3000 is described as this shiny metallic unit with light-up eyes. And the timing of his activation is, well, it's essentially a cruel joke by his creators. He is switched on for the very first time in a small workshop on Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. Talk about a cold start problem. You're introducing a purely logical entity into the single most illogical 24-hour period in human culture.
Exactly. So he wakes up, runs his diagnostics, and immediately scans his environment. He processes the date, February 14th. And because he's a learning machine, he identifies the primary keyword associated with that date. He searches his internal database for love.
And this is where the trouble begins, because in a standard database, you'd expect, a dictionary definition, love, a strong feeling of affection. But for an AI, a definition isn't an experience. It's just a text string.
He didn't get the text string. He gets a blinking red light. The narrative says his internal monitor just flashes error.
That's such a profound way to start. It's almost like what psychologists call alexithymia in humans, the inability to identify and describe emotions. ZAP has the hardware to process information, but he's completely blind to the emotional context.
Yeah.
He has a concept of love as a data point, but the value is null.
So the AP does what any good algorithm does when it encounters a null value. He goes out to fetch data, he leaves the workshop and heads to a nearby school to conduct field research.
Which is arguably the most chaotic data set he could have possibly chosen. A school on Valentine's Day is a very high-noise environment.
He enters observation mode. He's just scanning the hallway, trying to find patterns that correlate with this love concept. And he identifies three specific user behaviors. First, he sees kids sharing candy.
Okay, so he logs that as resource distribution.
Second, he sees friends hugging.
He logs physical proximity and pressure.
And third, he sees someone helping another person pick up dropped cards.
They're recovery assistants. See, this is the trap. ZAP is operating on a purely behavioral level. He sees the what, but he's completely blind to the why. He's seeing the mechanics of the actions, the transfer of objects, the squeezing of arms, and assuming that the action is the emotion.
It's the cargo cult mentality. If I build a wooden runway,
The planes will land. Precisely. And this leads us to the simulation phase. ZAP decides to execute the love protocol based on this training data. And this is where we really see the difference between syntax and semantics.
oh, it goes off the rails immediately. He tries to copy the Valentine exchange first. He walks up to a student and hands them a Valentine. But, I love this detail, he hands it to them upside down.
Now, why does that matter? To a robot, the data transfer is complete. Object A moved to person B.
Yeah.
But in human communication, orientation matters.
Right.
Presenting something upside down signals a lack of care, a lack of consideration for the receiver's perspective. It's a classic example of contextual blindness.
It's like when you use an AI to write an email and it uses the word delve or tapestry like 3 times.
Yeah.
It's grammatically correct, but it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
Feels synthetic.
Exactly. The syntax is perfect. The soul is missing.
But ZAP doesn't stop there. He moves on to data point 2, the hug.
Yeah.
He approaches a student, wraps his metal arms around them, and just squeezes. But he hasn't calibrated for, squishiness. The story says he hugged too tightly.
A calibration error. A hug is a dynamic feedback loop. You squeeze, you feel resistance, you adjust. It's a nonverbal negotiation of comfort. ZAP treats it like a hydraulic clamp. He's just applying force because he thinks the force is the affection.
And then we get to the grand finale of his failed experiment, the more is better fallacy. He observed that giving a card equals love. So, logically, he decides to maximize the output. He finds one terrified kid and tapes 47 cards to their body.
This is my absolute favorite part of the case study.
It's incredible.
Because it perfectly illustrates Goodhart's law.
Goodhart's law.
Yeah. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. ZAP decided that number of cards was the metric for love, so he just optimized for the metric.
So gamified it.
He gamified it. If one card is good, 47 cards is a high score.
He's spamming this poor kid with affection.
Literally. It's love spam. He's just inundating the recipient because he thinks volume equals value. But as we know, 47 cards taped to your shirt isn't a gesture of endearment. It's a sign of, well, a mental breakdown or a robot malfunction.
So ZAP is standing there looking at this kid who is basically mummified in paper hearts, and he's just waiting for the love variable to trigger.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. He just beeps, processing, still confused.
He's hit a wall. He has successfully mimicked every surface-level behavior he observed. He distributed resources, he initiated physical contact, he maximized the token exchange, but the internal system still returns error.
It's tragic, really. He's checking all the boxes, but the form is still invalid.
And I think that's something a lot of humans can relate to. We often go through the motions of connection, buying the gift, sending the happy birthday text, showing up to the event, but if the intention isn't calibrated correctly, it just feels like ZAP's upside-down card. It's performative.
Yeah, so the AP is stuck in this loop. He's failed.
Yeah.
But then the environment changes. The narrative shifts from a controlled experiment to an accident.
The inciting incident.
A small girl is walking through the chaos, and she drops her Valentine box. It hits the floor, lid pops off, cards go everywhere. Now for ZAP, this is just physics. Gravity works. Objects fall. But he notices a shift in the room's behavior.
This is the crucial data set.
The story says everyone rushed to help.
Now, pause there. ZAP has to process this. In his previous observations, actions were transactional. I give you candy, you smile. I hug you, you hug back. But this, the girl didn't ask for help. She didn't offer a reward.
And ZAP notices that. He runs a quick diagnostic on the other kids. He observes. 1, no one issued a command. 2, there was no pre-programmed rule for a dropped box scenario.
He's witnessing emergent behavior.
And his conclusion is simple but baffled. They just cared.
And this completely breaks his previous model. He realizes that love isn't a script you perform when the date is February 14th. It's a reactive subroutine. It's noticing a disruption in someone else's world and, well, moving to fix it.
The expert analysis here usually points out that ZAP is learning the difference between a protocol and a response.
Right, a protocol is rigid. Insert tab A into slot B. A response is fluid. Oh, tab A is broken, let me hold it in place for you.
All right.
ZAP realizes that the kids aren't operating on a transaction, they're operating on empathy. They're running a little simulation of the girl's distress in their own minds and acting to alleviate it.
But ZAP doesn't have a mind to simulate that distress. He doesn't have mirror neurons. So how does he bridge the gap?
This is where the story gets really smart. ZAP stops trying to feel and decides to act.
The narrative describes a physical reaction. ZAP's heart panel flickered. He essentially rewrites his own code in real time. He stops trying to figure out the definition of love and just executes the function of assistance. He steps in and just starts picking up the cards.
And notice what he isn't doing. He isn't trying to hug the girl. He isn't taping the cards to her.
No.
He's performing a functional task that restores order to her chaos. He is aligning his objective with her need.
And the result? The girl looks at him, she smiles and says, "Thank you."
That's the validation signal.
And immediately, visually, ZAP changes. His heart light, which had been blinking red with an error, turns a steady, glowing pink.
The system has stabilized.
And ZAP whispers, "Processing complete." He finally renders a definition for his database. He says, "Love is helping."
Love is helping. Now, I want to challenge that for a second because on the surface, it sounds incredibly simplistic. It sounds like something you'd see on a poster in a kindergarten classroom.
It does. It lacks the romance, the passion, the butterflies in the stomach.
Exactly. If you told your spouse, "I love you because I help you," they might look at you a bit funny. But think about it from a behavioral psychology perspective. Think about behavioral activation.
That's the therapy concept, right? Where you change your behavior to change your mood.
Yes. So often, we wait to feel motivated before we act. We wait to feel loving before we do loving things. But ZAP's logic reverses that. He determines that the internal feeling is irrelevant if the external action is helpful.
So love is helping isn't a reduction, it's a functional definition.
It's functional agency. Think about it in the context of a crisis. If you are sick or grieving or overwhelmed, do you want the person who sits there feeling deeply sad for you? Or do you want the person who does the dishes and picks up the kids?
I want the dishwasher every time.
Exactly. ZAP teaches us that love is a verb. It is labor. It's the expenditure of energy for the benefit of another system.
That's actually really empowering because feelings are slippery. Some days you wake up and you're tired or annoyed or just flat. Does that mean you don't love your partner or your kids?
Well, according to ZAP, no. If you still pick up the dropped cards, if you still make the coffee, drive the carpool, listen to the rant, you are successfully executing the love protocol. The pink light is on, regardless of your internal mood.
It takes the pressure off the vibes and puts the emphasis on the work.
It creates a tangible metric. ZAP was failing when he tried to optimize for the symbol of love. The cards, the hugs. He succeeded when he optimized for the utility of love, the help.
And that connects back to the source materials breakdown of what kids actually learn from this. They list empathy, helping others, and actions show love.
Actions show love. That's the key. In a world of infinite signals, texts, likes, emojis, it's so easy to confuse digital noise with actual care. ZAP's journey just reminds us that the highest bandwidth signal is showing up and doing the work.
So ZAP went from being a confused robot taping paper to people, to a highly emotionally intelligent being, simply by bending down and picking up a mess he didn't make.
That's a great way to put it. Picking up a mess he didn't make. That is almost the definition of grace, isn't it?
It is. And he did it without a single hormone in his body.
He bypassed the biology and went straight to the truth.
So for our learner listening today, maybe you're navigating a relationship, maybe you're managing a team, or maybe you're just trying to be a decent human being in a complicated world. ZAP 3000 offers a pretty clear roadmap.
Stop trying to tape 47 cards to the problem.
Please.
And stop worrying if your internal code feels perfect. Just look for the drop box. Look for the friction in the other person's life and smooth it out.
It's a logic that just cuts through all the noise.
It's a logic that never returns an error message.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought experiment. We spend so much time analyzing how we feel about people. Do I like them? Do they annoy me? Do I feel a spark?
We obsess over the internal state.
Exactly. But what if you audited your life like ZAP 3000? What if, for 1 week, you ignored your feelings completely and measured your relationships solely by the data of your actions? If we looked at the log files of your life, purely help provided versus help received, would the algorithm define you as loving or just present?
That is a terrifying and necessary question to ask.
Processing complete. Thanks for deep diving with us. We'll see you next time.